Good afternoon. My name is Mary Ellen Graff, and we are excited to be sharing with you some new features on Teaching Books as we uh, present today. I'm here with my colleague, Kim Davick. Kim, do you want to start us off?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mary Ellen. So today we're going to be looking at navigating book selections with book resumes on TeachingBooks. As a reminder, TeachingBooks is provided to all Indiana schools, public libraries, and universities and residents through the Inspire, a service of the Indiana State Library. And Mary Ellen, thank you for adding the URL to Inspire at the bottom. So when you're on the Inspire website, you'll see, if we scroll down just a little bit, you'll see that we have teaching books for libraries and teaching books for schools. Same great resources, but a platform designed for our school audiences or for our library audience. Today, in our session, we are going to explore our new book resumes. We'll talk about how we can search and browse for different titles, how we can share resources, and how we can build or import lists and different collections for analysis.
So should we I switched back. I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, let's dive right in.
There we go. Let's dive right in. So just a reminder that Indiana State Library provides teaching books or teaching books for libraries. They're both part of the same great opportunity for all public schools, libraries, universities, and all residents have access to teaching books. And we are on the Teaching Books for Libraries platform. And everything we're demonstrating today is on both platforms. So if you're part of a school library or a public library, we have the resources similar on both platforms. So let's start with the basics, kind of a refresher about the resources and tools on Teaching Books. So I'm signed into Teaching Books for Libraries, and you'll see that I'm signed in as a professional. And I'm going to just back out one level so you can see when I am logged in from the Inspire page, it's going to look like this. It will say either your library or your school district at the top. But for today's presentation and for some of the features that we're going to highlight, you're going to want to be logged in as a professional. So if we hit the 3-line toggle menu and use the login as a professional, it will take you to this page where you can then use your work email to get to the site. And you'll see the difference in the upper left-hand corner. Once I'm logged in and it says welcome and my name, that's the way to check to see that you're logged in as a professional. And when we're talking about list and collection analysis, it's going to prompt you to do that. So I'm going to just point that out now. But let's remind ourselves about finding resources for titles. If I use the search box, I can type in a title. So if I choose Fallout, there's several titles, but I'm looking at this one by Todd Stracer. So we have the resources on Teaching Books for you. We've got a Meet the Author recording. We've got book guides, activities, and lessons. We have book readings, and we have something brand new called a book resume. We'll get to that in a second. First, we want to just sort of start our day listening to a Meet the Author recording. What we've done is we've contacted the author and we've asked them essentially to book talk the book for readers.
My name is Todd Strasser, and I am the author of Fallout. Fallout is partly a memoir of my 12th year of life and partly alternate history based on a period of time called the Cold War, when our great enemy was Russia, and we were having the nuclear arms race, and both sides were building more and more nuclear weapons with which to threaten to destroy the other. And it was a very frightening time for young people and older people. In the 1960s, the early 1960s, my parents built a fallout shelter in our backyard. And this was something that some people did, but not very many. And it made my life very different from my neighbors' lives. And I thought it would be interesting to reflect on what it was like to write a story about that.
So we have a taste of the author's purpose, why they decided people would like to hear this story. And this can be posted and shared in a variety of ways. So we have this arrow, and you're going to see this arrow all over the website. When I choose this arrow, it's going to give you a variety of options. I can copy the link and post it on my library website. I can make a flyer to post in my library. I can email this to someone who maybe I know a homeschool family that is researching this era, and I can send them this via email, or I could create what we call a shelf talker. What the site does is generates a QR code, so I could put this in a display. Maybe we're doing a 1960s display, sort of a retro, for some of us retro, for others it's historical fiction. Display, Kim, you know what I mean. And we have that QR code so that we can share and encourage people to choose this title. But let's go back to the book page. As we're putting together that display, we maybe are thinking about the books we want to pull, and we just need a quick reminder of a little bit about this book. So this is brand new on TeachingBooks. It's just the last few months. On this, what I call the table of contents line. When I'm logged in as an educator, so I look in the upper left and I see my name, you'll see book resume. When we go to this book resume, there's lots of wonderful information for you to make decisions about how you're going to think about titles, or maybe what age group. So you're going to start with this line at the top. So we have a table of contents, and then we have what the professional recommendations for this book are. And we know that choosing the grade level, some people choose grade levels, some people choose ages, some people choose Lexile level. Finding a book that's right for a reader, there's a lot of tools we can use. So we can see that it's recommended for 5th to 8th grade, or ages 10 and up. We can also look at the Lexile level. So not only the maturity level, but also the readability for that particular reader. And then as I scroll down, this is where it gets exciting, at least exciting for me. You can look at the subject headings, but the place I like to explore first is the full professional reviews. I like to rely on the experts in the country to look at their reviews and see what they have to say about a book. And you can see the date of it. We can see that Hornbook has written several, School Library Journal, Book List, Publishers Weekly, Kirkus, they're all here. And I believe we have, Kim, correct me if I'm wrong, 8 contributors to this section, professionals from across the country, so that I can look at these reviews all in one place. As I'm considering adding this book to a display, I'm going to close this section, so it's going to jump. I can also look at the book awards and distinctions. What recognition has this gotten from national organizations? And below that, I can look at the state and provincial recommendations and see what reading lists it has been featured on as well. So as I'm looking at a title, I've got the reviews, I've got the awards and distinctions, and I've got the state and that's a hard word. Recommendations by provinces across Canada, and I can think deeply about that title. Now, what else we have on this page is right under the book cover. We've got that share arrow again. We've got an ebook sample. So when there is an ebook sample available, and it's just taking a second, it will pop up and I can read a sample of it. So before I pull it from the shelf to put in my display, or if I'm creating a list of ebooks that are available, I can just reread a little sample of it to remind myself what it's about. Whether your collection is a physical collection or an ebook collection, this can be helpful in doing that. There's also an audiobook sample, and maybe Kim and I are having a discussion about this, and I need her opinion. So Kim, I know you're not able to look at this right now, so I'm going to just print a one-page summary and put it on your desk for you to look at later. And as it's loading, it's going to generate a QR code to the full report. So I can make the communication between myself and another professional or a community member or a patron very simple by printing this one-page review, and then they have access to the section that I had access to when I was logged in as a professional. So as you're having conversations about books, you can print this one-page summary. If you're part of a school district, you can use this as you're considering books to add to your curriculum. So that is one of the newest features on TeachingBooks. And let's take a look at another title so you can see what a book resume for another title looks like. Again, I'm going to use the search bar. And I want to point out where that is because sometimes I click sort of quickly. When I'm on a page, the magnifying glass that is on the far right is going to open my search box. And there it popped open. I tend to click it and forget that I know where it is, but I want to make sure you remember. Now, if I'm pulling a book from my shelf, I can put my cursor in this search bar and click on this icon, which will enable me to use my library scanner and scan the ISBN of the title, and the title will pop up. But I'm going to type in The Universe in You. Ooh, I'm having issues here today. There we go. I did it. Yay. The Universe in You, A Microscopic Journey by Jason Chin was the book I was thinking about. So we can see we have a collection of resources. We've got about the author. We've got the interview. And on this line, we have, again, the book resume. And here we can see there's subject headings. There's 6 professional reviews. There's the Horn Book, School Library Journal, Publishers Weekly, Book List, Kirkus, all in one place. We can look at the awards and distinctions, and we have the information as we're thinking deeply about a title. Kim, is there anything you want to add about book resumes while we're looking at this one?
No, I think you covered it, Mary Ellen. I just love the fact that we have a generated report that aggregates all of this information all in one place. Easy to share, easy pulling it so that it's readily available for all of our professionals. It's great.
Great. And so I'm going to go back to the book page and I want to point out something to you. You'll see we also have our share arrow on a book page. Now, when you're on a specific resource, you're sharing that resource. When you're on a book page where you see all the resources, you're sharing all the resources on that page. So when I choose it this time, you're going to see that I could create a bookmark to add to that display so that people who are interested in learning more about this book or checking it out later have the information they on the book. They have all the resources. Maybe, as I mentioned earlier, a homeschool family has picked up this book. I can email them all the resources so they can go down to the book guides, activities, and lessons, and maybe use the educator's guide as they're thinking deeply about this title or having a conversation. So the resources on TeachingBooks are shareable one resource at a time, or I can share the whole group of them. Now, that's how you look up a specific title, but maybe you're looking for a group of titles. So maybe we know that April is Poetry Month. I'm going to use the search bar again. Actually, I'm going to use browse. I could use the search and type in poetry, or I can select browse. And I'm going to choose See All Collections, which will give me the list of topics, and I'm just going to choose poetry from the genre section. Now, I want to show that poetry can be written about any topic. So I want to go down to the curricular areas, and I'm going to choose STEAM. So we're looking for STEAM poetry. And then I know I'm working with 4th graders. So I'm using the grade level. Now I have 43. I love nonfiction poetry. It's a favorite of mine. So in April, Poetry Month, I am going to feature some nonfiction poetry along with the other poems that I am sharing. And then I can go in and explore the resources for each title, but I can also create a list from here. So I'm going to show you several steps. I am going to start with the book page. You'll see this plus icon right next to the arrow plus icon. I can start my poetry STEAM list. And I'm going to add that one title. And when I go in to view that one title, it's a title. It has one title in it. I can add titles more quickly. I'm going to go to the same steps I used before, browse, see all collections. I'm going to choose poetry. And I'm going to narrow again by STEAM. And I'm going to narrow again by the grade band. This is 4th grade. Now, you'll see there's a plus icon under each title. I could add them from here, but I can also choose this add multiple titles. So I'm going to select this and maybe I'll cross-reference to make sure we have these in the library. And I know we have these first 5. And I'm adding it to my poetry STEAM list. So one of my features is going to be all about nonfiction poetry. And now I have 5 titles. I can go in and explore. And maybe as I'm book talking these, I can choose stars and moons. The Google preview. It's going to think for a second here. And I can project this as I am talking about the book. And it's taking a minute for it to load, but in a minute it'll pop up and then I will have a taste of the book so that I can share and talk about them as I'm introducing each title. So those are a few ways you can create and build lists. And once you have a list, there's some wonderful things you can do. First of all, to build a list, again, you'll need to be logged in as a professional. And when you are, you'll see the 3-line toggle menu, and there's a section called Your Reading Lists. You'll see we already have the Great Indiana lists here, and those are fun to go in and explore what the Young Hoosiers or the Elliott Rosewater awards are. If we go in to see all of them, they're here waiting for you to explore the resources. Next to that, you'll see that we are on the Indiana State Inspire page, but in your library, you can feature lists here as well. And the way to do that is by communicating with us. So if you have that spreadsheet of titles and you want to have all your patrons or all your students, depending upon if you're a school or public library, we will post those lists for you. And then below that, you'll see the lists that you have created. No one can see these lists unless you choose to share them. And I'm going to choose my Storytimes title list and show you how you can share that. Again, we're looking for that blue, in this case, blue arrow. If you're on TeachingBooks for schools, it's a red arrow, but this arrow, it's in the upper left. So I'm going all the way over to the left at the top of the screen below the TeachingBooks logo. There's a share icon. So I can post this if I'm a school district in a learning management platform. I can create a bookmark or a flyer that goes along with my display, or I can send this list to someone. So many of the same options. I can even promote this list on social media for my library social media page. And that is all part of the license, so feel free to do that. Now, once I'm on this list, this is one of my favorite things. You can use the list analysis report. So maybe I've pulled my Storytime titles. I can use this list analysis report to think deeply about the titles that I'm going to be sharing with participants in Storytime. And we can go down slowly to see an at a glance. We can look at the amount of fiction and nonfiction we're sharing over the time we're reading these books aloud. I can look at the readability, which for a story time isn't as significant, but for other topics is more important. I can look at the recency of publication. 1987. Maybe I want to think about that book and just check and see if it's one I want to leave on my list. I love that book, so I think that's a good option. And I have no worries about it being a book that is not relatable for the people. I can look and see. Kim, I have not added any titles that are more recent than 2019. So I'm going to make a note to myself and say, I want to pick a few new titles, new things that are on the shelf. And then we can look at what cultural experiences our students or participants are seeing, patrons, as we look over time. Will they see themselves reflected? Now, TeachingBooks will never tell you what should or shouldn't be on our list. What we're trying to do is give you the data so that you as a professional can make those choices. And we all know more information helps us make choices and think deeply. And every list is going to be different. What the purpose for your list is going to drive your what information you find useful. And we have genre details. We've got curricular details. And if you have any questions about any of our definitions, there's a definition section on each of these. And then what we can see is what is not included. So I, in my story time, realize I have not had the cultural experience of Asian or South Asian represented. So I'm going to choose Asian. And I'm going to narrow by grade level. This is going to be for story time. And now I have some titles that I can explore. I've got quite a few titles. I've got 413 titles. I can see what we have on our shelves. I can see what I think would be a good balance for that group, storytime group, and I can add that to our list. So let's say we pick Take Me Out to the Yacht. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm going to have to listen to that. And I'm going to add that to my Storytime titles. And now I have one more title on my list. So that is a little bit about building lists. We're going to make a big transition here because when we're building those lists, we recommend up to about 200 titles is a good amount. Smaller is also good. It depends upon your purpose. We have some tools on TeachingBooks that can help you look at the big picture in your collection. And so Kim is going to talk us through a few ideas of how TeachingBooks can support looking at your collections in new and different ways.
Thank you, Marilyn. I am going to suggest that we use our navigation bar at the top and we slide over to the For Professionals section. We open up For Professionals. And now in this section, we see all sorts of different modules. We're going to look at the collection analysis module today. So we're going to open that up. And here is, we're going to see an explanation of what this tool allows us to do. And Mary Ellen showed us the section, the first section, which is the custom reading list. So you can make those lists. You can even analyze those lists like she showed you. And these are more for your interactive displays or collections that you might want to look at for maybe sharing with readers. You're also going to get with these lists all of the resources. So up to 200 titles, that list will display and you'll be able to see all of the resources for those titles. So Meet the Author recordings like she showed you, book guides, activities, lessons, storytime activity kits, and so much more. When we move over into the next section, this is when you can do more of an auditing piece. And what we're going to look at today is just how to use the tool, not go through every single step, but just start, because we're happy to provide additional support, but we want to make sure that you're aware of what this tool does. So here we're going to be able to analyze a collection. So you're going to be able to examine up to 10,000 titles. Again, though, I would practice with smaller sections to begin with, just until you're more familiar with the tools. So she opened up that section. So here, and I love that all of the information on the left-hand side explains it. Here's when you're able to look at your community needs. You're going to import collections. You're going to be able to see those different sections quantified. And then as Mary Ellen started to show us on the left-hand side, there is a quick start guide as to what is included and how to use this. So you can do a quick simplified look about what you do. You import a collection, you excuse me, I'm going to have trouble with words too, analyze it or take a peek at it. And then you can do a more comprehensive look. If we go back, so we have that quick start guide. We also have some collection considerations on the left-hand side that just explain some different components about weeding and doing some of the things that you are going to do as part of this process. And then they also show you a sample list report on the left-hand side. What we recommend you start with, though, is completing that needs assessment. So on the second column, Mary Ellen is showing slowly where that cursor is. It talks about thinking about why you're creating this collection analysis. And so if you open up that needs assessment, it asks you about what kind of collection you're taking a look at. Maybe you are looking at what you've done in your what you have in your biography section for your teens, or maybe you're looking at another component of your collection. So you're going to think about what you're using there. Think about how diverse it is. How diverse would you like it to be? There are some definitions included. As Mary Ellen showed you the definitions on the analysis report, we're wanting to be as transparent as possible. So there are some definitions about how we define diversity. And then you think deeply about your community and what kind of things that you're considering to begin with. So just taking a couple of minutes to think about that analysis report. You're the only one who sees this unless you choose to share it. So these tools show up under, just like Mary Ellen showed you, the lists that you've created at the bottom of your list. Those are only available to you. So are your collections and your needs assessment unless you choose to share it. Okay. So let's go ahead now and take a look at generating a report. So Mary Ellen, let's take a look. So underneath the complete the needs assessment, you can import and create that report in several different ways. You can paste a list of titles and authors in. So just you call the report whatever it's going to be, and you name that collection, you decide what category it's in, and you can import titles and authors. And you can put that in, and then it will generate that report for you. Okay. You can also paste a list of ISBNs. So maybe you've downloaded a report from one of your databases, and you are going to create this new report. So you can do that. It tells you exactly how to do it. You still are going to create this new report and name it, but then you're going to paste in your ISBNs and then import those. You can also upload a CSV file. And I love the fact that it tells you exactly how to generate this report. So your first column has to be the title, your second column has to be the author. And if you have ISBNs, you need that in the third column. And then you don't need any other information. You need title, author, and ISBNs. You decide that collection name. Can we do this, Mary Ellen?
Yep. I can't type today, but we can upload a file. So I'm just saying new report, and I'm going to choose the file. I have several on my desktop, and this is always like opening up your dresser drawer to show everybody your scatters. There we go. It's okay. It's all folded neatly. And then we're going to hit import. Take it away, Kim.
Perfect. So now she's uploaded that new report. We see it labeled up at the very top. It said new report. And here's our list analysis for this. And we can see there were 27 titles on it. We see that same sort of information that Mary Ellen showed us from another analysis. The difference now is you can see the analysis on any list on the site. But now this is something that we're going to be looking at, weeding at, perhaps adding to, subtracting from, and we're going to be pulling information and working with this data. So this is now in our analysis information. And so it's in a different place. That first list analysis that Mary Ellen showed you when we were creating a list, that's on the site, but it's not within her information. So for instance, Marilyn, let's go ahead and go back over to the left-hand side where it says your collection reports. Now these are the reports she had. She just added a new report. She has one from March. She did a sample. She's got a couple other samples there that she's done for different presentations. And so it's added now to her collection of her analysis reports. Okay.
And nobody can see these but me unless I choose to share them.
Right. So now what I also want to say is we're only going to match titles that are on TeachingBooks. So if you have titles that are that we don't have on TeachingBooks, it's not going to match it. So for instance, you're not going to be able to use this for your adult titles, for the titles in your adult collection, unless they are also included in our, because we're, you know, pre-K through 12, unless they would be used in high school settings, they wouldn't be on our site. Okay. One thing to talk about too is, Mary Ellen, do you have a spreadsheet that you can show
I
us?
do. Let me find that. You vamp for a minute and I'll get the spreadsheet.
One thing to think about is sometimes when we have a spreadsheet and before we upload it as a CSV and all of those kind of things, we just want to make sure that we are cleaning up our spreadsheets. And again, sometimes they will have many more rows, many more columns, excuse me, than what we need. So you're going to want to make sure that, again, we only have the title, we only have the author, and then if we have ISBNs, that's in C. So do that if possible. And so it's really important that that is done. All right, can we go ahead and show them how they can import a different list too? So let's go ahead and go back to the site. And now let's go, let's take a look at their Indiana list. So let's go ahead and go to reading lists. And now let's just choose
There's so many good ones, it's hard to pick, Kim.
It is hard, but let's choose something that's not exceptionally large. So let's just go ahead and choose, let's choose the Firefly new. I love that little list. So, so here's our new list. Let's say that we're going to include these into our story time. And you uploaded story time, didn't you?
I did.
Oh, I forgot my, so on the left-hand side, we can,
I think we have to duplicate it, make it our own first.
Let's duplicate this one because it's an award list. And now this is going to be our copy and we're going to save it. Okay, let's take a peek. And now on the left-hand side, we can save that analysis report. So let's go ahead and save that analysis report. And we're going to, let's just save it as it is right now and import it in. We have the analysis for the Firefly Award, but let's go ahead over on the left-hand side and look at your collection reports. Because what we can do, we have that copy of it. And now we have that new report that we added that was our story times. So let's go ahead and take, because we had 27 titles in that report and we have 5 in our other. So let's go ahead and open up. Let's go ahead and open up the Indiana Firefly Award now. Because what we can do is we can, I'm sorry, not the analysis report. Let's go ahead and go back to the list. Thank you. And now what we can do is we can save that analysis. We have it separate, but now I'd like to save that list analysis report again. But I'd like to put it in that other list that you made, Marilyn. What's the difference between now when I've added these lists and I take, okay, so choose save list analysis report, and we're going to put it into the new report. Correct. Thank you. And now we're going to import it. So now we have, this is the new report version 2. We still have our first collection of version 1.
That was
And
27. And
Mhm.
then we added more. So now we have 32.
We do. So now what we can do is let's go ahead and go back to your collection reports. Now let's take a look at what a difference it makes. Let's do some comparison. We've got new report 2. We've got the new report. And can we also just choose yes. And let's look at all 3, because you can choose to compare up to 4. And when we looked at that new report version 2, we can see the difference in the number of that we've analyzed. We can take a look at the difference in the cultural areas. We can see if that matches that report that we did that analyzed what we wanted for our community's needs. We can take a look at the fiction to nonfiction and look at from our first report to our second report where we added in the Firefly Award and making sure that we're including those within our story time. So it allows us to pay attention to what differences adding 5 titles do. It's a very cost-effective way to add to your collection before you make those expenditures and see what kind of difference. Mary Ellen, what should we showcase here for a minute? And then we'll ask questions, if there are questions.
What I don't understand your question. What when you say what do you want to show?
Did I miss anything?
I don't think so. I think it's great to remember that you can look at before and after. I think the one thing I would show is if you are then talking with someone, maybe you've gotten a grant to get new titles, to have what your collection looked like before and what it looks like after. Those sharing tools are here. So you can share this with someone and say, look at the impact this had on my collection.
And it's professionally prepared for you. I love how it looks like you spent a lot of time preparing it and you just had to click a button.
Yes. We have a question. How quickly are books added? Books are added every single day. And one of my favorite places, we have over 92,000, I haven't looked today, 92,000 titles. But one of the features I like is I can look at recent, which is one of my award winners. And you can do any search. We can look by year published, and we can look at what's been added in 2024 or what's been added in the past 3 years. So we have titles, and we have a fabulous team. They add titles and resources every single day.
I love how you did that. Can you also go back to the homepage?
I can go back to the homepage. I'm capable of that.
And then go ahead and scroll all the way down until we get to the very bottom above the footer. Sorry,
bottom above the footer. Bottom above the footer.
There we go. So seeing what our content team has added in the last 30 days. And then we can also, as Mary Ellen said, I want to see all the titles that have been added in 2024. So if we open up that, then we see that this year, as of April 11th, I think we are, they've added over 1,000 titles.
They're amazing.
And then you can, and then you can go ahead and sort those using all of our filtering tools on the left-hand side.
Excellent question. One thing I like to do, and we will show you a few other things, but one of my favorite things, and this takes a minute, so we'll vamp, is to see all books. And I like to see what the title is. Oh, that didn't take long at all. 52,888. So everybody check in the next couple days, because you might be able to say, yay, 93,000.
It's amazing. It's so fast.
Go ahead, Kim, and I'm going to get our slide ready for our contact information.
So I think, just remembering that you can share any of those, either the book resumes or the collection analysis with any of your colleagues, your supervisors. Download those in a spreadsheet if you prefer to see that. They're ready for presentation. So if you are presenting to a community, staff, any other stakeholders, they're here for you. It's lovely too, and Mary Ellen mentioned this, once you have your collection reports, you can take a look at genre, cultural experiences, any of those tools. And she showed you also how you can use the filtering tools to find additional titles to add. And so then remember, take advantage of any of those filters on the side. I think that when you don't, it's like, oh yeah, those filters, you know, when she was choosing titles too, she could have also decided to, oh, we said we wanted more recent titles. I could have looked at the recency too, and then added more there. So really use those filters to your advantage. Mary Ellen has pulled up. How did I do for vamping? I thought I vamped.
You did fabulous vamping. I wanted to remind people that training is included as part of the Indiana State license, and the way they can set up that training is by letting us know. And we're happy to jump into a Zoom room with your library staff, with your teaching staff, with your colleagues, with you one-on-one. If there's some relearning you want to do, feel free to contact us. There are also a few tools on the site, and I'm going to go back to the site, that can be helpful as you share the word about TeachingBooks. To find the help section on TeachingBooks for libraries, you're going to open up the toggle menu and you'll go down this section and you'll see there's the link to TeachingBooks for schools if you're interested or you're working with a school. And here is the help and support section. And we have just recently added several what we call 2-minute takeaways. And these are some ways you can think about using TeachingBooks, but it can also increase your learning about the site. So you can reach out to us. We're happy to train, but there's also a few tools. Any other tools on the site, Kim, that you would like to bring to people's attention?
I would just recommend that any one of the for readers, for professionals section is a whole conversation worth. So if you dive in and then there are just questions you have, we're not, as Mary Ellen said, training is included. It's never too much. So reach out at any time. We're happy to support. And then, you know, the site is, other than the color and a slight little layout and wording, the site is the same. So please join any of our sessions on training. So if you're on, you can ask for training or you can join some of the sessions that we have. Sign up for, oh, are you going to go back to the slides? Because we could also show them how to sign up for newsletters and things like that.
Let's show them how to do that.
Okay, so on the toggle menu, you'll see an opportunity to sign up for different newsletters to get more information. Bookmarked comes once a month. Teaching Ideas comes once a month if you're supporting your schools. The update comes once a month. So they do come once a month and you can adjust that. There are many different blogs that you can subscribe to too. And I always just recommend that you subscribe to all of them to see what's useful to you. And then after a couple months, you can go back in and you can edit your choices if you are getting too many or some of them are more useful to you than others. And they will remind you to sign in as an educator too. So sign in as a professional, sign in as an educator, depending on which site you're on. That language differs between the two sites.
Thanks so much
for joining us.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Thank you so much for joining us.
Okay.